So, what's the name of the kingdom? Hands up. Hastinapur, very good. And who is the blind king? Dhritarashtra, very good. Who is his wife? Star pupil, I'm going to ask you only when nobody else can answer the questions, so don't worry. Yes? Not Satyavati. Satyavati is, I've come down a couple of lines. So Dhritarashtra's wife. Yes, Arjuna? Gandhari, very good. Dhritarashtra's brother. Pandu, very good. And Pandu married two ladies. One was called? Huh? No. We're one generation down from that. Pandu's two wives. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Kunti's one. And? Madri. Yes, very good. Okay. So, they have 5 children. What are the names of the 5 children? Or what do you call them all as a collective? Pandavas. Very good. Oldest Pandav is called? Oh, sorry. Okay.
Bhim.
No, Yudhishthira is what, number 1? Then Bhim is number 2. Number 3? Yes? Arjun, number 4? Nakul, number 5? Sahadev. Sorry. And then oldest Kaurav. Evil man. Duryodhan. Younger brother of Duryodhan. Can you know his name? Dushasan. Yeah? So, where did we leave the story off a few weeks ago? Oh, wait, hang on, sorry. One more character. Actually, 2 more characters. No, 3 more characters. So, Kunti has a son, remember? A son with the sun god? The son of the sun? Anyone remember his name? Yes. No, yes. Karn, very good. Teacher of the Pandav and the Kaurav princes. Someone new. Yes. No? Anyone else? Yes? Don't worry. Star pupils at the back. What have you two got? You answer the last one, you answer this one. Dronacharya. Excellent. And one more person. Who is the grand uncle? He was right at the beginning of the story. Go on then, Bobby. Bhishma. Very good. Right. Boom.
Listen to me.
So. Oh, I forgot one name. So, when did we read the story of last week? Or the last time we were together? What just happened? Shot the fish? No, so that was the week before, and then you went away, and then you didn't watch my video. So, where we left the story off last week was the 5 princes had been to the palace of wax. They've escaped the palace of wax. Duryodhana has obviously tried to kill them once and has failed. They've been wandering down the forest. They attend the Swayamvar. Who remembers what Swayamvar is? Yes, where the princess is competition, where a princess gets to choose a prince and then ultimately will be her king. So, the Swayamvar, the most beautiful princess in the whole world, has just occurred. What's the name of said princess? It's the same 5 people that know all the answers to them. Draupadi, very good. So Draupadi and the Pandavas have just come home. And what was Kunti doing? She was looking down. And what did they say? They're going to play a little trick. And they said, Mummy, we've brought a present home. And Arjuna, what does Kunti say?
She said, I'll come later, just split it in half while I do.
Divide it amongst the brothers. Exactly, correct. Without thinking, and remember the lesson that I gave you the last time we were together? Think before you speak. In not thinking before speaking, just continuing with her work, and not being aware of what was going on above her, suddenly the the most beautiful princess in the world now has to become the wife of 5 men. And as we discussed a couple of weeks ago, that's not normal, is it? Most women only marry one man, and most men only marry one woman. So why? This is crazy, but because the mother's instruction is like instruction of God, so the princess have no choice. So Dorothy gets married to all 5 brothers. So they've been wandering around the forest, right? It's time to go back now to Hastinapur. Duryodhana is so angry. I've already tried to kill them, and I thought I'd kill them by burning them in the palace. Why are they still alive? They're back. They're a threat to my power. He's so angry. He goes to his father and he complains. He says, "No, I'm the crown prince. I will be the king after you. These brothers must be removed from the kingdom." And there's a big tension. Because remember, Pandava was king before Dhritarashtra. So Yudhishthir, the oldest Pandava, by right, he's supposed to be the prince. But Duryodhana is saying, my father is the king now, and therefore, because I'm his eldest son, I must be allowed to be the king after him. And there's a lot of arguments and a lot of fighting. Who's doing quarrels with their brothers and sisters at home? Who fights with their brothers and sisters at home? And what normally happens, your mummies and daddies have to tell you off, right? Yeah. So, the reason your mummies and daddies tell you off is because they treat you both as children equally. It doesn't matter if you're older. Are you okay over there? Or do you need to go outside and have a chat? Maybe you want to move away a little bit. Thank you. Mummies and daddies, and why are you not facing me? Yeah, why don't you get back to me? Mummies and daddies typically tell you off when you're fighting with your siblings because they're treating you both equally and they both want to be fair to both of you. In this scenario, however, the Pandava's daddy has gone. Okay, the mummy is there, but the Dhritarashtra is the king. Now, if he was a fair king, if he was a just king, if he treated everybody the way a king is meant to treat his citizens, he would have been fair. But because Duryodhana was his child, his eldest child, and because he was a blind king, and because he always felt, I should have been the king before Pandava, he allowed his jealousy to get in the way. Right? And so, he starts treating the Pandavas a little bit differently. He's like, no, I don't think this is as clear cut. Just because Yudhishthira is here now, doesn't mean that it has to be the case that he has to become the crown prince. So there's a lot of debate, Bhishma is saying, no, you must be fair, you must be just. But Dhritarashtra can't bring himself because of his own ambition. Does people know what ambition means? It's their ego, it's what I want. What I want is more important than what's good for the good of everybody. How many of you, when mommy or daddy or somebody else says, no, you can't have that, start crying, screaming and shouting, yeah. I think there's a lot more of you than the ones that put your hands up. I know in my house it happens a lot, doesn't it? Yeah. So in the same way, there's a lot of tantrums in the palace. Lots of arguing, lots of shouting. And eventually, it just becomes too much for everyone to handle. So a decision is taken. We're going to split Hastinapur in 2. We're going to break the kingdom in half. One half will remain Hastinapur, and the second half, to be identified, will become the kingdom where the Pandavas will rule. Now, if Dhritarashtra was fair and just as a king, what he would have said is, Hastinapur has all of this money and all of this land and all of this, fertile ground where you can grow crops and farm well and grow food for the people. I'll split all of that in half, so Pandavas get half and the Kauravas get half. But he's not like that. He takes all the good stuff, all the good land, all of the money, the sort of everything that's good for the wealth of the kingdom, and he gives that part of the kingdom to Duryodhana, his son. And then there's a horrible piece of wasteland called Khandavrast, And he says, Pandavas, you can go and live there. So off they go. They just take whatever they can get gratefully, and off they go. At this point in the story, somebody incredibly important enters. He entered a while ago. He was born, his mother was called Devaki, his father was called Vasudev. He had a mama called Gans. He was carried through the river Yamuna to his new parents because Gans was killing all of his brothers. He arrived in Gokul. His mummy is Yashoda. We sang about him to her today. His father was Nanda. He had an older brother called Balram. He was a cowherd. He played the flute incredibly beautifully. He had a... What else did he have? Oh, who was his girlfriend? Not Sita, wrong story. Radha, very good. And who am I talking about? 1, 2, 3? Krishna! Very good. So, Krishna Bhagavan. He enters the story at this point as a counselor, as a helper, as a guide to the Pandavas. And he goes to the Pandavas. He says, don't worry. I know you've been given the worst part of the kingdom. I know that you might think that it may not be possible to grow land and or develop the land and grow crops and so on. Don't worry, I've got your back. Does anybody know who Krishna is an incarnation of? This is quite a big word, incarnation. Still your money? Huh? I'm joking, sorry. Bad joke. Who is Krishna an incarnation of? Vishnu, very good. And who is Vishnu? One of the 3 main gods in Hinduism. Who's the first one? Brahma. Then Vishnu. And who's the third one? No. Shiva. Very good. Yes. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. And he said, every time planet Earth is in trouble, Lord Vishnu will reincarnate himself and come down to Earth to save mankind. So, Earth is in trouble. Hastinapur is in all kinds of dilemma. There's lots of fighting. The principles through which we're all meant to live together, love each other, respect each other, care for each other, all of these principles are all slowly being broken. So Krishna appears as an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, and as you'll see as the story goes on, he's there to save mankind. And he does it through the support of the Pandavas, and by helping the Pandavas to be truly good, righteous, courageous people. So, Krishna says, don't worry about it, and he says you need to perform a special puja. Are we okay? Are we tired? Do you need to lie down? Shall we sit properly like everybody else is? Thank you. It's called the Raj Surya Yajna. And what it involves is Yudhishthir, Bhim, Arjun, Nakul and Sahadev going out, forming alliances, having victories in battles, and creating lots and lots of diplomatic relations with all kinds of other kingdoms all over India. So they do it, and they do it really successfully. And as a result, Khandaprast, which is a horrible wasteland, I'm trying to think of an equivalent of it. Can you think of the worst place you can, what's the worst football club? Chelsea, right. Think of Chelsea's stadium is horrible, right? So Khandaprast is a bit like that. It's just horrible, right? So what they do, by forming these alliances and making it really, really wonderful, they inject lots into their economy, and Chelsea Football Club becomes like Arsenal, the best football club. place that is renamed from Khandaprast to Indraprast. And this beautiful palace is built. The Pandavas are very happy. They're living there. And as a conclusion of the Rajya, they have a big celebration. And they invite lots and lots of people, including their Kaurav cousins, King Dhritarashtra, their uncle, Bhishma, their granduncle. They all come to visit. And this palace is so beautiful, you don't know when you're walking if the floor is the floor or if the floor is water. That's how magical and mystical this place is. It's a little bit, in fact not a little bit, it's even better than the Magic Kingdom in Disney. It is incredible, right? And so, Duryodhana arrives and he's like, I can't believe it. I gave them Chelsea Football Club as a project. And they were meant to just fail and live in misery and, never win anything and just be constantly just sad, like most Chelsea fans are. But instead, look at what's happened. They've transformed it into this magnificent kingdom with this beautiful palace, and now they're living a better life than I am. That's not right. I don't like that. I now want Indraprast to be mine as well. So anyway, he's wandering around, and he comes to a sort of a courtyard, and he takes a step. He doesn't realise that what he steps into is actually a little pond, water. He thinks it's the floor. He thinks it's hard like the floor. He takes a step, and he falls in. And Draupadi, Queen Draupadi, is watching from the balcony. And she sees him. This is very important, because something's going to happen in about 10 minutes that I'm going to tell you about. It's okay, Ashwai, I'm going to get there. I'm going to tell you about. And what comes out of her mouth now, she says it as a joke. She says it without thinking. The consequence of that we'll see in a few minutes' time. What did she say?
The blind son of the blind man.
Yeah. She laughs at him and she says, you're the blind son. And he's not blind, right? He can see. He's just made a mistake. So she makes a joke. She's rude to him. She insults him. You're the blind son of a blind man. She laughs, she walks off, thinks nothing of it, but that really, really hurts him in his heart. And he becomes enraged. He's so angry. How dare she speak to me like that? And he promises he will have his vengeance on her. He will take revenge. And so, the ceremony completes. Everybody goes back to the hospital. And he sits there. Now, who remembers what the name of his mama is? Gandhari's brother. It's on the board for those of you that. Come on, somebody new. Who's Gandhari's brother? Come on, someone. Shakuni. Very good. Sorry, did you know it? So Shakuni, very, very smart mama, very, very evil mama. And he sits there. He thinks with Duryodhana, that you're right, nephew. This insult must be avenged. The Pandavas must not be allowed to succeed. Who here has ever done any gambling? Nobody's hand should be up. So, in those days, there was a game. It's a cross between, I think, Ludo and chess and like 3 or 4 other board games, but it was called dice. Or you played with dice, this game. But what you would do, and the kings and the princes, and they all used to play it for their entertainment, they would gamble, so they'd bet money with each other. Or they'd bet things from their kingdom, and if they lost, they would obviously give it. And if they won, then they'd gain whatever the other person had betted. And Shakuni was the master of dice. So they hatch a plan. Let's invite Yudhishthira to come and play one of these games with me. I will play not with real dice, but with loaded dice, right? So dice that I have made so that I always win. So basically he says, let's play this game, let's make him bet lots and lots of things, and because my dice are loaded, I can cheat and make sure that we win every time. So, an invitation goes to Yudhishthira, please come to Hastinapur, come to the royal court, and we will play a game of dice, just for fun, just for fun. So they come, the brothers accept, they come, they sit in the court, all everybody else is watching, Dhritarashtra, Dronacharya, Bhishma, everybody's watching this. And in the middle, the Pandavas sit on one side, Duryodhana, Dushasan, Shakuni, and Karna. Remember, Karna is Duryodhana's friend, even though he's the stepbrother of the Pandavas, he's Duryodhana's friend. Duryodhana made him his friend. And they sit and they start playing this game. And so Yudhishthira bets 100 gold pieces. Shakuni rolls the dice. What happens?
He won.
Who wins? Shakuni. So what does Yudhishthira have to give to Shakuni? What? What did he just bet? What did he say? What? 100 gold coins. Yudhishthira has. Let's try again. I bet 1,000 gold coins. So he bets 1,000 gold coins. The dice gets rolled. Who wins?
Shakuni.
So what does Yudhishthira have to give to Shakuni? 1,000 gold coins. I'll bet all of the cattle in my land. All of the cows that provide me with milk, with grazing the land, cheese, absolutely, and anything else. I'll bet all of the cattle in my land. The dice get thrown. Who wins? Shakuni. So, you should have to hand that over. God. It's getting really bad. Well, because Yudhishthira, the one downfall to him is he's addicted to gambling. He really likes gambling. Hey! What is going on? Then move over there. Sit down.
Enough.
Thank you.
That's enough.
So Yudhishthira then bets his palace. Can you imagine your mum and dad bet your house and they lose it?
I could
The dice gets rolled. What happens? Shakuni wins. Brothers have lost this incredible palace. I bet everybody in my kingdom. Who wins? Yudhishthira just gambled away, not just his house, but everybody in his kingdom. So the whole kingdom is now lost because of gambling by the Pandavas to the Kauravas. He's got nothing left to gamble, has he? He's given away his kingdom, he's given away his palace, he's given away all his cattle, he's given away all his money, he's got nothing left. What does he do next? He bets his youngest brother, Sahadev. He said, I bet my brother Sahadev. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine you betting your own siblings, your brother or your sister, in a bet? But he's the eldest brother. He can do what he wants. He bets his brother Sahadev. What happens? He loses. Shakuni wins. Sahadev has now become the slave of Duryodhana and the Kauravas. He bets Nakul. Same thing. Arjun. Bhim. Finally, he bets himself. And what happens? Shakuni wins. So what's happened now? These guys have become the slaves of the Kauravas, right? Can you imagine? He began the game with one of the best kingdoms in the world, and now he's a slave to the Kauravas. He says, I've got nothing left to gamble now. What did I tell you about the consequence of speaking and not thinking and insulting people and hurting them? What had happened to Duryodhana at his palace? He insulted Draupadi, right? Oh, so Draupadi insulted him, right? And he was still carrying that in his heart. He said to Yudhishthira, he said, you do have one more thing left to gamble. your wife. And she said, yeah, that's true. And Campbell said, what happens? And now Shakuni wins. Draupadi now has become the slave of the Kauravas. Duryodhana says, she's my slave. She was away in her chamber. He said, I want to see my slave. Bring her here now. Draupadi was unable to come because she wasn't feeling well. It's okay. I will come when I'm feeling better and I can come and meet the king and the prince. Duryodhana says, no. He sends a servant. He says, go and get her. I want her in the court now because she is my slave. She says, I can't. I'm not feeling well. I'm not dressed properly. I can't come to the king, and so come to the court and be in front of all of the courtiers in my condition. Duryodhana is insistent. So he sends Dushasana, his younger brother. He said, bring her here, and if you have to drag her by her hair, drag her from her bedroom to the court, but I want her here now. Dushasana goes. Draupadi says, Dushasana, look at me. I can't possibly come to the royal court in my condition. He says, I don't care. My brothers told me to bring you, and if I have to drag you by the hair, then I'll drag you. So he grabs her by the hair and starts pulling her. And as he's pulling her, imagine if you're being dragged by the hair, suddenly you lose your footing, and then you're on the ground, yeah? And he drags her, and drags her, and drags her, and drags her, all the way through the corridors of the palace, keeps dragging her until he gets to the court. Throws her there. They all laugh, the Kauravas princes. The Pandavas, even though this is their wife, can't do anything about it because they're their slaves. And as slaves, they can't do anything. However, Duryodhana isn't satisfied just with her being dragged into the court. So what happens? His ego gets the better of him. And he says, actually, Karan says to him, she's a slave. It doesn't matter that she's been brought in this condition. She might think she's a queen, but she's a slave. If you brought her here naked, it would not have been inappropriate. It would not have been inappropriate. So Dushasana then grabs his sari and starts pulling it to undress her. Can you imagine having all of your clothes taken off in front of all of these men? How ashamed must you be? Who is the God that's present in the story? Yeah? Krishna Bhagwan. Krishna Bhagwan and Draupadi have a very strong connection. And once upon a time, Krishna Bhagwan cut his finger. And when he cut his finger, Draupadi tore a bit of the sari off, wrapped it around his finger to stop the blood from flowing. And Krishna Bhagwan said, for every thread you protected me with, I will give you this back one day when you need my help. So, he doesn't appear in the court physically, but he appears as God can sometimes. And he basically, from his hand, a ream of sari comes. And it continues to wrap itself around Draupadi. So as Dushasana is pulling the sari off Draupadi, Krishna Bhagwan is providing a sari to keep her covered up so that she can never become naked. And this goes on for hours and hours and hours. Dushasana keeps on pulling and pulling and pulling. Desperate to humiliate Draupadi. But Krishna Bhagwan says, no, she's my protectorate and I'm looking after her. And so, eventually Dushasana collapses because he's so tired, covered in sweat. He's exhausted. And at that point, the Pandava princes make a promise. They're still the slaves, but they make a promise. Bhim says, one day, Dushasana, for what you've done to my Draupadi, I will kill you for it. And Arjun says, Gaur, because you have insulted my wife so much, one day I will kill you for it. And a bit that I skipped over, Duryodhana earlier before Dorothy was being undressed, Tom tried to come and sit on his lap. Can you imagine another man's wife being asked to sit on somebody else's lap? It's hugely disrespectful, hugely humiliating. Being said, I will break your thigh. So they make these vows in the courtyard, in the royal court. And that's where we'll stop the story today. Next week, we'll find out what happens as the princess takes the Okay?